woke me up like gang. Left, going fucking slide. I say at 7 in the morning, yo, ass tweaking, bitch, I'm tired. He like, cool, I go by myself. I'm like, no, you not. He say, then get your bitch ass up and go and get your fucking clock.
District hustlers on top, whole kid dope. My nigga E, they got the eagle, so you better chill. It's on Young Money.
Oh yeah, favorite subject. Yeah.
You said what?
Gotta get this bread for my new boy. LA, I'm a fucking Boston with some rock soul. You hear me? Hey, look out for my new shit, man. This shit coming soon, man. You hear me? That new Capo Future everything shit, man.
That hell, gonna face out. You know how I rock. Look, whoever say we ain't out here, they fucking around, man. They fucking around, man.
Hey, Tay600, man. They know how we rockin'. Bang, bang, that 2-2, man. We don't give a fuck, man. Fuck who fucks, man. That's slow. Yeah, old block, you know we rock.
We gon' shoot y'all.
PG thing, 3 times, bang, bang. Fuck
bitch, we getting that. Hey, Shawty, you ain't got shit to say to the camera, Shawty?
I got something to say. That else to the fuck niggas. That's why I fuck Zico, man.
Yeah.
Push it up in the wick, man. You know, we stay on the block. Go through STL today, man. Them niggas is out there locking hard, man. I dropped niggas.
On these cars,
up to love run.
I can never regret the shit I did, you know, I just regret the shit I did for all the wrong niggas, you know. Tay600 LLC, you know, it's niggas making money off, you know, things that I put my blood, sweat, and tears for, you know, and for me to backbite down everything rolls, you know, not to see a penny of that money, you know, we fight for our life, you know, ain't nobody sending no money, no lawyer fees, no nothing, you know. Niggas name $600 on the gram, all on social media, $1,000 watches, shoes, and you know, niggas ain't sent a penny to the real, you know. That shit fool, you know, so that's
Still real 300, nigga. I'm still 600, nigga. Recipes, let's stay, nigga. Recipes, let more, nigga.
STL EBT vs 600, Episode 3, The 600 Side of the War. A complete documentary script, The Streets Are Talking. If you have been with this series from Episode 1, you already understand the map. You understand the geography, the specific blocks, the specific corridors, the specific contested spaces where this war was fought. You understand the alliance, how Jaro City, STL EBT, MOB, and Taekwon World converged into the most sustained and organized pressure campaign that 600 Block ever faced. And you understand the individual human beings on that alliance side whose specific stories Episode 2 went deep on. Dome's declaration over D-Thang's body, 2-2's death as retaliation for Jizzle, K.I.'s story, Boss Trell's operational record, and the musical warfare waged by CDAI and FBG Duck.
Dome, the man who changed everything. Of all the individuals who operated on the STL Jaro FBG side of this conflict, no single person's single act carried more structural weight in the history of this war than what Christopher Hughes, known everywhere as Dome, did on September 13, 2011. The killing of Devin Howard, D-Thang, the founder and organizing force of 600 Block, was not simply the removal of one member from an opposing crew's roster. It was the removal of the person around whose leadership, judgment, and presence the entire 600 Block architecture had been constructed. Episode 1 documented D-Thang's centrality to 600's internal culture in detail. To understand the significance of what Dome did, you have to hold that centrality in mind and understand that eliminating the person who embodies a crew's culture is a qualitatively different act than eliminating a member. The context of how it happened carries its own weight. A peace treaty attempt had been circulating in the weeks preceding September 13th. A negotiation involving O-Block, 600, STL, EBT, and Jaro City that some members of 600 genuinely believed might produce a temporary reduction in hostilities.
Against 600's public identity. Episode 3 goes to the other side of that equation. Not the glamorized version of 600 that social media and the broader drill community has constructed through a decade of discussion. Not the curated narrative that the most vocal surviving members have presented in interviews and on platforms where the audience cannot challenge them directly. The real version. The forensic version. The version that accounts for everything. the losses, the decisions, the internal fractures, the legal exposure, and the specific documented moments where 600's own people created problems for 600 that no opposing crew could have manufactured from the outside. Because this episode goes into the snitching dimension of this conflict, and it goes there with the same forensic honesty that this channel applies to everything else. The snitching conversation is one of the most charged and most consistently distorted areas in any documentary treatment of Chicago's drill-era conflicts. It gets reduced either to a simple moral condemnation, the person snitched, therefore they are irredeemable, or to a blanket dismissal. The allegations are unfounded, therefore they can be ignored. Neither of those positions is honest. The honest position requires examining the specific documented evidence that exists, distinguishing between what is confirmed and what is allegation, and placing both in the structural context of what incarceration, legal pressure, and sustained conflict actually do to the human beings who experience them simultaneously. This episode does that work. For 600, in full. This is STL EBT versus 600, Episode 3, The 600 Side of the War. Shoe 600 Block actually was the personnel behind the name. Before any account of what happened to 600 Block across the years of this conflict can carry genuine weight, it is necessary to establish who the crew actually was, not as a symbolic entity in the broader Chicago drill mythology, but as a specific collection of specific human beings whose individual histories, individual capabilities, and individual roles within the crew shaped everything that followed.
But then we started losing niggas, folks. It cracked everything, G. Like, it just, you had guys, like, deaths do more than traumatize you in those type of ways. Like, you have guys who started making business decisions, folks. Like imagine you a 13, 14-year-old little boy, niggas start dying. Now 90% of the people you calling the big guys, the ones who supposed to be in charge of supplying pipes or making sure y'all got the means to war, they start leaving y'all, folks. Like, this is why I hold Trigger on the highest regard that I can in life, G, because on my son's life, G, we had nobody. We ain't had nothing, for. I swear to God, we ain't have a nigga to stand on that block with us that was we considered a big homie. On Steve, they all got gone. Everybody for different reasons. When folks them started dying, niggas started going to Ohio, setting up drug empires and shit. Niggas started getting jobs at Family Dollar. Niggas started moving and driving trucks. Man, on Steve, they left us, boy. And then I'm out there in Joliet. I can't even help my niggas, folks. On Steve, I'm coming back every weekend or every other weekend, but I'm only here for the weekend. For shit going on Monday through Friday, I'm not here for folks now. So Trigger holding this shit down, and then Trigger go get booked, folks. You gotta remember that. Trigger get booked in the midst of all of this, folks. We needed Trigger, folks, and Trigger got booked, and we didn't see folks. On Steve, we had Trigger, folks, the last nigga, folks. And then folks got bumped for that shit, folks. On Steve, folks, it was over with, folks. We got shorties. We had to grow up fast. We had to become ruthless. On Steve, folks. Because after folks, it wasn't no big homies. On Steve, we was the big homies. We was 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old big homies, folks. And that's just what it was, folks.
Devin Howard, known everywhere as D-Thang, was the foundational figure. Not foundational in the ceremonial sense of a name attached to an origin story after the fact, but foundational in the operational sense of the person around whose presence, judgment, and organizational gravity the crew's actual function depended. He was young in the way that everyone in this conflict was young, criminally young by any outside standard of reference. But he had accumulated the kind of presence and authority within 600's internal culture that typically belongs to someone decades older, and that accumulation had happened through demonstrated consistency in exactly the kinds of high-stakes situations that reveal character most directly. His relationship to the blocks that 600 claimed was not administrative. He was not a figure who directed from distance. He was present, active, and visible in the streets that his crew held. which made him simultaneously the most respected person in 600's social world and the most exposed person on the opposing side's list of priority targets. That combination, maximum internal authority and maximum external exposure, is the specific tension that the foundational figures of every crew in this conflict eventually had to navigate. D-Thang navigated it until September 13th, 2011. What happened that day belongs to the heart of this episode. But understanding who he was before it happened is the only way to understand what it cost. Tay600, whose real name and whose biographical record place him as one of 600's most consistently vocal members across the entire arc of this conflict, occupied a different position within the crew than D-Thang.
On the block, ain't do no panicking. I see niggas dying every day, I get my pistol tucked. Since a shorty running through 600, I ain't give a fuck. Niggas change for money and the fame, I ain't switching up. How the fuck you gon' compete with me when you ain't did enough?
Who was you with when that incident happened with the cab driver? Who was you with? Who?
They always can I have a cigarette with
Man, fuck that! What's his Twitter name? What's his Twitter name? What's his Instagram name?
22 shots!
See my bro money, man. Come here for you little ass. You been riding man. Who's in this bed? I'm a free buka on them damn homies. Riding around with buka. That is a buka.
Fuck. I don't think niggas want gun smoke. I got pounds allowed and that's good dope. I keep a couple blows by my ankle. If the jigs come, I gotta get low. I'ma do this shit for my kinfolk. Steve dry shit. It's simple. You ain't trying to make cake what you in for. Keep playing with us, you gonna be in for. D-block shit if you ain't know. Fuck a bank bowl, I got rainbows. This flat got me feeling like Rambo. I don't wanna hit a nigga with a combo. These streets ain't shit but my jungle. I got taco shells and they jumbo. I don't wanna hit a nigga with a combo.
Damn, I got my phone and shit. I got it
Oh yeah! Oh no, savage shit about
Where D-Thang's authority was primarily operational and internal, Tay600's most significant contributions operated in the communicative and narrative dimension. He was a person who understood that in the drill era's media landscape, the ability to control the public story of your crew, to place your crew's accounting of events into the broader community's consciousness through music, through interviews, through the specific kind of authoritative public presence that social media rewarded, was itself a form of power. His accounts of specific incidents within the conflict, told across multiple platforms and multiple interview contexts over more than a decade, constitute the single largest publicly accessible body of first-person testimony from inside 600's experience of this war. That testimony is invaluable historical material. It is also testimony that requires careful evaluation, because testimony given in public by someone with a stake in the narrative being constructed is not the same thing as testimony given under oath in a neutral setting. The distinction is not a disqualification, it is a necessary caveat. Idai was 600's musical face during the conflict's earliest and most musically productive phase. His April 2011 track What Up and his subsequent rapid-fire output against the STL-FBG side established 600's presence in the drill era's musical battleground with a specificity and a pace that prevented the opposing side from controlling the narrative unchallenged. The decisions he made about what to name, what to reference, and how explicitly to document specific incidents and specific people in his music were not random. They were strategic. The work of someone who understood that in a conflict where both sides were using music as a form of extended public warfare, the crew that produced more, faster, and with more precision had a structural advantage in the community's perception of who held the upper hand.
Like, we fuck with GDs, we fuck with a lot of GDs, we just don't fuck with them fool-ass niggas. Lil J, none, them niggas not real GDs, like, duck all them fool-ass niggas, them niggas not no real niggas, man. We just don't fuck with them fool-ass niggas, man. Everything.
So y'all hear that, man? Motherfucker never ask these niggas that, like,
the boys, I get that call, they 600 and Young Money, you can bet that. Hit the wick up, Charles where that tech at. Old block shit, bitch, you can bet that. Hit a stain,
Bitch, where that cash at?
See, E-Day used to be going crazy for it.
E-Day, I'm telling you. E-Day. Like, he clowned on that.
E-Day went crazy on that. For
yeah,
he did crazy on that shit, for because it's like people always expect me to say LA did all the type of shit, but at the same time, like LA was getting his feet wet. Like Foden was on that bitch really like doing their thing, and then I gave a lot of credit to E-Day because E-Day on the hook, like so.
Yeah,
like,
true.
E-Day gotta get a little more praise for even bring. I do that with him as part two too. Like even when I say who got the best verses, like I gotta give him the honorable mention because the hook was like the most important part, and he iced that bitch.
Double G on my belt buckle, don't you know that's Gucci? Ain't niggas sneak dissing, hating, but it's Gucci. Me and her chillin', red smoking in the two-seat. I got no doors and two-seats. I'm smoking on that Tookus hat. This is me, get your troopers wet. Who the fuck is you? Who the fuck is me? Who the fuck is you? We got fucking tools, my young niggas come dumping juice. We can war nigga, we can beef nigga, what you wanna do? Ride through my city, 4 deep, no weed. On that hot shit, fuck the police. Slow creep, got the mop sticks, bout to go sweet. Fresh body drop, they ain't tryna hit no peace. 2 in the morning, everybody probably sleep. 0% 10, niggas out here lurking in these streets. Homicides dailies, niggas bout that murder in these streets. Mama's crying, sister crying, a lot of burdens in these streets.
No, nigga. On phone, the niggas got us fucked up. Talking about 600, man.
Motherfucking move,
man. Stop it, shorty.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers
Hey, y'all know who it is talking on folks.
Motherfuckers know who started this shit, man. Gang shit on phone. Them niggas ain't got no say-so over here.
No.
I ain't gonna never die, though. You hear me? I'm gonna die one day. I ain't gonna lie. But not by the ops, though. I'm gonna die of natural causes. You hear me? I'm gonna die from natural causes, man. I'm gonna die because I grew too old or some shit.
That strategic instinct, however, also carried the specific cost that explicit musical documentation always carries in the drill era's legal environment. The creation of a searchable, permanent, publicly accessible record that law enforcement had developed increasingly sophisticated methods for deploying in investigations and prosecutions. Idai's musical output during the conflict's peak years placed him in the same category as every other drill-era artist whose authenticity was inseparable from his legal exposure. The more real the music, the more useful to the investigators watching it. 600 Breezy occupies the most complicated position of any surviving 600 member in the public record of this conflict. He became, over the years following the conflict's peak, the most accessible and most frequently interviewed figure from 600's orbit. The person whose accounts of specific incidents have shaped the public understanding of what happened, who was responsible, and what 600's experience of this war actually looked like from the inside. That accessibility is historically significant and historically complicated in equal measure, because Breezy's accounts of specific incidents have been directly contradicted by multiple independent sources in ways that cannot be dismissed as simple differences in perspective.
I gotta pick Lippy up. I gotta pick Lippy up. Let me see you do this shit 2 times. What I'm saying, bro. That's it. If we gonna keep it moving, we gonna keep it moving. You don't smoking look whole shit. That's what's happening in the hood, shorty. All that, I'm smoking look, bro. That's my uncle. Where my blood? That's okay. I'm so paid. I'm so paid.
In Chicago, pull up, we had the meeting in this building, you feel me? We met up in this building right here. 600 Breezy got on the FaceTime call and shit, you feel me? And I'm like, yo, bro, it's good. He's like, yo, yeah, Tech, I remember Tech, you feel me? Shit like that. That's what's up. Yeah, most definitely, bro. For me, it's straight official shit over here.
You know, a lot, when I posted that I was gonna come here, a lot of people was like shocked, like, how's their BDs in New York and all that. So,
I ain't going front, bro. It's not rocket science, bro. If it's like GDs out here, nah, not even TP gang. It's not rocket science, bro. You feel me? Like expansion happen everywhere, bro. Respectfully, bro. Cause this
shit, me and the bros
drill out. Group of freak hoes, tell E they bring the pills out. Brick City shit, I'll show you what the drill bout. Tuck your main hoe, put my kids in the bitch mouth.
We killed the last nigga, they ain't said none. We roll running, flipping.
The most significant of those contradictions involves D-Thang's death. Breezy's account presents D-Thang moving toward his killer of his own initiative, a detail that, if accurate, would substantially alter the emotional and moral meaning of the incident. That detail is contradicted by multiple eyewitness accounts, and by news reporting that is consistent in describing D-Thang as having been shot in the back. A person shot in the back is not a person who was moving toward an armed attacker. Those two physical realities are mutually exclusive. The community has noted this discrepancy consistently, in forums and in comment sections, across years of discussion. The honest documentary approach is to acknowledge it clearly rather than accept the more convenient account simply because it comes from someone present. This is not a condemnation of 600 Breezy as a person. It is a recognition that the accounts of people with direct personal stakes in a conflict's narrative, accounts given in public, to audiences that cannot access the contradicting evidence across years of media appearances, require the same evidentiary scrutiny that this channel applies to every other claim in this series. Le Capone, the young man whose music earned him the retrospective designation of the voice of a generation from people who knew him, was perhaps the most purely gifted artist to emerge from 600's orbit during the conflict's active years. His death on September 26, 2013, at the hands of Lil Mick from Southern 51 Young Money, was experienced by the broader Chicago community not simply as a crew loss, but as something closer to a cultural catastrophe. People who had never stood on 600's blocks, who had no personal connection to anyone in the crew, felt his absence as a specific and irreplaceable loss. The accounts that have circulated in the years following his death, that his death did not just break the block but broke the city, carry the authentic weight of genuine community grief, rather than the inflated retrospective tributes that sometimes accompany the deaths of people who were not quite who their memorials claim. What Le Capone was building musically before September 2013 was documented enough to establish that he was not simply a promising local artist with drill-era street credibility. He was someone whose range, the ability to move between the raw, specific, geographically grounded energy of drill and something more expansive, more melodically ambitious, more capable of reaching audiences beyond Chicago, suggested a trajectory that the conflict foreclosed before it could fully develop.
I got 10,000. I got 10K, yo, triple. Squad shit. You got the camera and shit.
I already know, man. We ain't been in the hotel room. Out here at SIUC, Carbondale. You know, we about to turn up.
Turn up.
Sure.
Squad shit, man, you know. You know?
Rondo number 9, man. Follow me on Twitter and Rondo number 9. At G. Rondo 600 Savage.
Right. Knock a nigga down my foot, and then that gon' be still on the puss. I catch the out like then he gon' get touched. We the Mustang gang can't run from a horse. We don't give a fuck, shoot him in the F foot. We don't give a fuck, leave him on the back foot. I don't give a fuck if his mom and his dad, look at say hosts up, and the party get loud.
Bread he fake. I had one more buck on my plate. It was me and bro, we was in the store when both of us got 50 cent cakes. I'll be
See, LA Capone, that's my homie nephew. So I ain't got nothing bad to say about. And I have been around LA before he died. Like LA was a cool nigga, you feel me? And that's my homie nephew. So I ain't really got nothing bad to say about him. Like I don't be disrespecting my homie's family and shit. You feel me? No matter what the motherfucker got going on, that's still my man nephew. So. And it's crazy, like 600 try to ride off LA, and they ain't even doing it right because LA ass goofies. And they used to hate on LA when he was alive. Like they.
Lil Boo was 600 in the way that a person can be completely, irreversibly embodied in a crew's identity, not as a function or a role, but as a presence so woven into the daily fabric of the block's life that his absence would be registered not just strategically, but personally by everyone who shared those spaces with him. His death on April 8, 2015, represented a multi-faction convergence against 600 that demonstrated with terrible clarity how many simultaneous enemies the crew had accumulated by that point in the conflict's arc. The alleged involvement of Bebe from MOB, Motor from Jarrow City, and Uchi and Arrow from 0521 Young Money, multiple crews coordinating or coincidentally contributing to the same loss, was the operational expression of the Allied pressure that the STL Jarrow MOB 051 coalition had been building since the conflict's earliest phase. D-Rose occupied a unique position in 600's internal history because his pre-crew biography complicated the organizational genealogy that most outside accounts of 600 treat as simple. D-Rose had origins in the Folly Boys, a Black P. Stones affiliated formation, before his incorporation into 600's operational picture. That origin is significant not because it undermines his 600 identity, which was genuine and demonstrated through sustained action across multiple years of the conflict, but because it illustrates the degree to which 600's actual membership reflected the complex, layered organizational landscape of Chicago's South Side, rather than the clean, single affiliation narrative that simplified accounts impose on it. People brought histories with them. Those histories created networks, loyalties, and potential complications that existed alongside their 600 identity, actively claiming them. D. Thang's murder. The forensic account, September 13, 2011. Devin Howard died near 61st and King Drive on Chicago's South Side. He was the founder of 600 Block. He was young. He was present in the streets that his crew held right up to the moment he was killed. And the manner in which his death has been publicly described by members of his own crew, versus the manner in which the physical evidence and eyewitness accounts describe it, represents one of the most important evidentiary conflicts in this entire documentary series. The context preceding September 13th included a peace treaty attempt. Older members of O-Block, 600, STL, EBT, and Jarrow City had been in conversations about whether some form of reduced hostility was achievable. Tay600 noted in retrospective accounts that younger members viewed this attempt with deep skepticism, that the instinct on 600's younger end was to treat the peace process as something to test rather than something to trust. That skepticism was not naive or paranoid. It was the historically informed skepticism of people who had watched how conflicts of this kind actually progress, who understood that unilateral de-escalation in a sustained war reads identically to surrender from the outside, and who were not prepared to absorb that social and strategic cost on the strength of a negotiation that had not yet demonstrated its reliability.
I'm seeing something like that, but I know it wasn't because I interviewed C Hood before, one of your homies, and he was telling me that when your buddy D Thing passed away, you was out there. He said he came out there and you was out there.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Me and Hood was together, and I told him I'm finna go make a serve right quick. And I didn't go too far. I just went to where the Calumet building used to be. I walked through the alley. I ain't hit no shots or nothing either. I ain't hit no shots. I'm here. I'm just feet away from our brother. I'm making a serve. And I'm getting a phone call from a female I used to deal with, but we was into it at the time. So I look at the phone. I ain't finna, you know what I'm saying? I ain't finna pick up. But at the time, you know, you got the ringtones. You know what I'm saying? My ringtone was that 24 hours Gucci. It's still going like this, the whole thing playing, so I just pick up. And she was screaming into the phone, like, she was like, what she said, they just put a gun on your brother. So I got a lot of brothers, so which brother? So she like, Devon. I'm like, so you trying to tell me my brother got shot? She's like, I don't know, when I skeeted off, nothing happened yet. And when I got to the corner, I'm like, where we're at? She tell me, I'm right here, I'm on 62nd and King Drive. When I got to the corner, it already happened.
Man,
yeah, see, he was right there, Breezy was right there.
And you came when the police, like when the ambulance was putting him in the, like, cause I think.
So I was there. The ambulance and the fire truck came before the ambulance. So I'm out there snapping and I'm like, wow, this ain't no damn fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, where the ambulance at? But the police out there too. The police out there too, so the police trying to explain to me. Well, they not explaining to me, they snapping on me. They tell me, I'm not leaving him. They tell me, get the fuck from by him. So with everything that's going on, I get to like, kind of scrapping with the police, like we tussling. So I feel like that's another thing to play a part with my little brother, because he on the ground. He already fighting for his life. Then he seeing me out here tussle with these people, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't want, they telling me to get away from me. Is you training for this? We'll get away from him, you know what I'm saying? But I'm telling him not finna leave. You know, that's my brother. So the ambulance finally came, they took him, but he got shot the same side as my brother Rakim got shot. So when I said
What happened on September 13th? Whether it was the peace process being used tactically by the Yarrow side to lower 600's vigilance, or whether it was a targeting operation that would have found its moment regardless of any negotiation, is one of the contested elements of this day's history. What is not contested in the forensic record is what the physical evidence shows. D Thang was shot in the back. He was pursued. He was caught. The person who killed him was Christopher Hughes, Dome, who was on electronic home monitoring at the time. The electronic monitoring records placed him at the scene. His declaration in the aftermath of the shooting, "This is for Hadi," was the specific communicative act that closed the arc between Hadi's 2008 death and this September 2011 response. When 600 Breezy has described D Thang in public accounts as running toward his killer, moving into the confrontation rather than away from it, the contradiction with the physical evidence is direct. A man shot in the back did not run toward the person who shot him. The accounts that place D Thang in a posture of aggressive confrontation at the moment of his death require a physical reality that the forensic evidence does not support. The community has maintained awareness of this discrepancy across years of discussion in comment sections and forums that people who understand the difference between narrative and evidence have sustained. This matters for two specific reasons. First, because historical accuracy is its own obligation. The people who died in this conflict deserve accounts of their deaths that reflect what actually happened, rather than what the surviving members of their crew prefer to have documented. Second, because the specific way D Thang's death has been narrativized by 600 members in public context reveals something about how the crew managed the psychological and reputational dimensions of losing its foundational figure in a way that read as a successful targeted operation by the opposing side.
Dome, the man who changed everything. Of all the individuals who operated on the STL Jarrow FBG side of this conflict, no single person's single act carried more structural weight in the history of this war than what Christopher Hughes, known everywhere as Dome, did on September 13, 2011. The killing of Devin Howard, D Thang, the founder and organizing force of 600 Block, was not simply the removal of one member from an opposing crew's roster. It was the removal of the person around whose leadership, judgment, and presence the entire 600 Block architecture had been constructed. Episode 1 documented D Thang's centrality to 600's internal culture in detail. To understand the significance of what Dome did, you have to hold that centrality in mind and understand that eliminating the person who embodies a crew's culture is a qualitatively different act than eliminating a member. The context of how it happened carries its own weight. A peace treaty attempt had been circulating in the weeks preceding September 13th. A negotiation involving O-Block, 600, STL, EBT, and Jarrow City that some members of 600 genuinely believed might produce a temporary reduction in hostilities.
Okay, so you was there, I
was there for that, yeah, I was there for that. My brother got killed in that peace treaty.
Say it again?
My brother D Thang got killed in that peace treaty.
It was after the fact one, or it wasn't during, was it one after the fact?
They called the peace treaty and then they killed D Thang.
Yeah, sneak shot.
Y'all felt like it was like a snake thing, or y'all felt
it was a snake thing. So they called a peace treaty with us.
Peace treaty, like I ain't gonna lie, in the peace treaty, I was over there, like the nigga killed my little brother. I'm over there chilling with them. Project was taking me over there. I'm over there chilling with them on his porch. We chill, we smoking weed, twink, dog, little girl. You know, we over there chilling. So it was some sticky shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm over there with a baldy shirt on. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna say I was comfortable. You know what I'm saying? I was nervous than the. You know what I'm saying? Grandma at that time. It was like we done did so much, so it's like okay, they calling it, it's a peace treaty now, but it's like You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, is it? You know what I'm saying? It's a new, you know what I'm saying?
on the fence.
You know what I'm saying? So, no, the crazy about it is when this project took me over there, you know, it's a Peachtree, I still feel some type of way. So, I got in the car, I got on the porch, I called Keisha, They came and grabbed me, I left. When I went back over Vernon, I'm out there snapping, B. This nigga project just took me over there, ooh. I'm in the cut. Guess what project ran up and say?
What?
Y'all seen Trigger? Man, he just left me over there on Vernon on Jump. Nigga, you took me over there.
Hey, no, real shit. Hey, that was a weird time in my street life, bro. I swear to God. Like, I remember, folks, on BD after the peace treaty happened, right? We walking deep as hell. We marching up the O. We marching to the O, but we on 60. We walking from 600 to the O, but we taking the drive straight up. For it's late night, we walking, we march, and this before D-Thing get killed and everything. For I swear to God, it was like, you know, they was playing the court waves right there, right off our 61st, on bro, 62nd and shit. They was playing, they was in them court waves at the time, like, you know what I'm saying? And they was in there throwing a party, folks. So I guess some of the ops that was standing outside the court wave, folk, that I don't know what the fuck they was out there for. You know what I'm saying? But because they was throwing a party in the courtway in one of them cribs and and we had woke up, folk, and I guess they had like seen like 40, folk, like we marching deep as hell. I ain't gonna lie, we was deep as this day, cause we already all like we knew it was a peace treaty, bro. But like at this point, we like putting our feet in the water, trying to see if this shit real. You know what I'm saying? So we walking up the drive. We never walk up the drive, bro. Everybody know it. We gotta go to the O from the block. Folk, we going up the Mac. Yeah. We even going up through Front Street. We might have took Indiana and slid through the motherfucking gangway and got to 63rd and then hit the back of Dulles on BD. But the King Drive, never. On BD, this day we going up the drive. And on Fort Gray, I guess by the time we had got to 61st. All them niggas started coming out the building because they was trying to see what we was on, like we was seeing what they was on. And I swear to God, I remember before it was about like 60 shorties out there staring at each other like,
trying to see if you can say something.
Like, on video, I swear to God, it was literally just like a stare off. Like it wasn't even like, yeah, woo, what up? What up? We literally just staring like, y'all got the word, we got the word. What? Everybody feeling acting accordingly, right? You know what I'm saying? On BD. And everybody acting accordingly, folks. They went back in that bitch, we walked past, I was like, damn, that was wild as hell.
Converting a targeted killing into a heroic last stand is one of the specific ways that communities cope with losses that are psychologically unbearable in their unaltered form. The person who was hunted down and killed from behind becomes, in the community's reconstruction, someone who faced death without flinching. That reconstruction serves a real psychological function. It allows the grief to coexist with pride rather than with the specific humiliation of having lost your most important person in a way that demonstrated the opposing side's operational superiority. Understanding that function does not require endorsing the inaccuracy. It requires acknowledging that the inaccuracy is itself historical data, evidence of how 600 processed and publicly communicated DT Thang's loss. Dome was convicted for DT Thang's murder and sentenced to 20 years. He reportedly died in prison in 2021, taking the legal arc of his accountability to its final conclusion inside a correctional facility, rather than on the streets that had produced the conflict that put him there. The Jizzle situation. When witnesses taught Carl Spencer, known as Jizzle, a figure associated with Squirttown and the broader 600 affiliated orbit, was killed on September 27, 2011 on 60th Street, in the weeks immediately following D-Thang's murder and Lil Steve's death. His killing was attributed by community consensus and by the police report that emerged from the investigation to Lil B from STL EVT and Tutu from Jarrow City, the same Tutu who would himself be killed in retaliation on November 10, 2011. The specific details of Jizzle's death, the manner in which it was carried out, the fact that he reportedly begged for his life before the trigger was pulled, the execution-style nature of the killing, were documented by police through witness statements. And this is where the forensic record produces one of its most significant data points about how law enforcement built its cases against figures involved in this conflict. Two witnesses, documented in police reports by the names Rhymes and Vance, provided investigators with detailed statements about what happened on 60th Street on September 27th. They named Lil B and Tutu as the killers. They described the specific manner of the execution. They provided the kind of first-person, specific name testimony that converts a street incident into a prosecutable case. Rhymes and Vance were connected to the social world that Jizzle inhabited. They were not random bystanders. They were people from within or adjacent to the community who made the specific decision to provide investigators with detailed, specific, named accounts of what they had witnessed. The street code of the environment that produced this conflict is explicit on the subject of witness statements to law enforcement, providing that kind of testimony, naming specific people, describing specific acts, creating the evidentiary foundation for a prosecution, is the definitional act of cooperation that the street world categorizes as snitching. The people who made those statements place themselves in that category by providing those statements, regardless of how anyone evaluates the moral weight of that categorization in the abstract. What is significant about this specific incident in the context of the broader conversation about the STL EBT versus 600 conflict is that Rhymes and Vance were from the 600 adjacent world, which means that the witness cooperation that generated the most detailed legal record of what happened to Jizzle came from within the orbit of his own community rather than from the opposing side. The community's accounting of this is documented in the available record. TB from Taekwon World referenced Jizzle's begging for his life in social media posts that became part of the broader documented record of how each side publicly discussed specific incidents. That social media documentation, the way the opposing side used Jizzle's final moments as material for disrespect, landed on 600 with the specific weight of violated dignity. The disrespect was coming from people who were claiming knowledge of what happened, and the mechanism that had created the detailed record of what happened had come from within 600's own orbit. Scrap's acquittal and the testimony question. The legal proceedings following Lil Steve's murder produced one of the most consequential legal outcomes in the entire conflict's history: Scrap's acquittal. Brian Weekly, Scrap, had been charged with killing Stephen McGee, Lil Steve, on September 19, 2011, on Prairie Avenue. The investigation produced a charge. The charge produced a trial. The trial produced an acquittal. The specific legal outcome that the criminal justice system generates when the evidence presented does not meet the standard of guilt beyond reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors who evaluate it. What happened inside that trial, who testified, what they said, and what weight the jury placed on each piece of testimony is a matter of public record to the extent that public records in criminal proceedings are accessible. The community's account of what happened goes further than the public legal record, and it is where the snitching dimension of this specific incident enters the conversation. FBG Buddha, affiliated with the Jaro City Orbit, stated publicly that members of 600 specifically named Lil Brian and Rondo testified in the proceedings surrounding Scrap's case. That allegation placed two named 600 figures in the category of witnesses who provided testimony in legal proceedings connected to this conflict. Tay600's response to this allegation is documented and is worth examining carefully because it illustrates the specific way that the 600 side has attempted to navigate the snitching conversation around the proceedings following Lil Steve's death.
The corner. We all try to take off running back the other way. All you hear is dude start quaking that bitch on Steve's MOB, folks. I seen the shooter. I know who the shooter is. I'm just not gonna say the shooter on Steve. They instantly get the clapping on Foden. They instantly get the tossing at the whole crowd on LA Gray. Our whole crew, we get the on Foden, whole gang get the on Steve. Motherfuckers hitting gates, hopping over shit, all type of shit on Steve. We trying to get up out of there on video. They clapping. Just blowing. I'm hearing them bitches. Them bitches was fried past my ear on Steve. Damn, I'm ready for to kill me. I'm finna die. I just remember thinking that shit for like the whole town running. I'm hearing them bitches. Them bitches was sounding like an episode of Wanted on Phone the movie. That shit was getting at. Them bitches was flying past my ear. I'm finna get shot in the face. For them great, them bitches. I'm trying not to even turn my head. I'm just running straight and praying on, just black out, because I know gonna be running there, you stop running. Don't forget they fajita tap, don't fuck.
Tay600's position, stated publicly, was that testifying in the actual trial, being called as a witness in the formal proceeding, is categorically different from telling police or proactively cooperating with investigators. His framing was that appearing in a trial and telling police on someone represent two distinct forms of engagement with the legal system, and that only the latter constitutes the violation of the code that the street world calls snitching. This distinction between proactive cooperation with investigators and testimony given in the structured context of a trial is the kind of granular parsing that the snitching conversation within Chicago's street culture sometimes produces. Whether the broader community and the broader street code framework accepts that distinction is a separate question from whether Tay600 sincerely believes it. The community's response to the allegation, documented in the ongoing discussion surrounding this conflict, has not uniformly accepted the distinction. What is not in dispute is the outcome. Scrap walked out of those legal proceedings as a free man. And what followed his acquittal, the specific behavior he engaged in on social media in the immediate aftermath of his legal freedom, is what permanently foreclosed any possibility of the 600 side processing his acquittal as a neutral legal outcome, rather than as a public declaration of war. The boasts about making Steve drive, the continuous taunting of 600 members and their deceased on social media platforms accessible to everyone, the deliberate, sustained use of his legal freedom as a platform for maximum psychological violence against the people who had lost Lil Steve and named their blocks after him. These actions were not accidental. They were chosen. And they were chosen by someone who understood exactly what each post would mean to the people on the receiving end. In that sense, Scrap's behavior following his acquittal is one of the most significant accelerants in the entire conflict's escalation history. The legal system had resolved his specific case by producing an acquittal. His public behavior immediately after that acquittal resolved the 600 side's uncertainty about whether some degree of de-escalation was achievable. It resolved that uncertainty definitively and permanently in the negative. There was nothing left to negotiate. There was nothing left to de-escalate toward. There was only the specific, named, public disrespect of a man who had walked away from a murder charge and was using his freedom to celebrate that outcome at the direct expense of the people who had loved the person he was alleged to have killed. Fade in, CDAI, the Twitter confessions, and what they built. The snitching conversation in this conflict does not flow only from 600's side of the legal engagement. It flows in multiple directions simultaneously. The direction that comes from the STL-Jaro side is one of the most unusual and most legally significant in the conflict's entire documented history. CDAI's Twitter activity following Tutu's death in November 2011 represents one of the most extraordinary bodies of self-incriminating public statement produced by anyone on either side of this conflict. His posts in the hours and days following Tutu's killing were not vague, not guarded. They were specific, proud, and entirely indifferent to who was reading them. When you kill somebody that feel like sex. That post, attributed to CDI's Twitter account in the immediate aftermath of November 10, 2011, is the kind of statement that law enforcement investigators flag, screenshot, and place in a case file without ceremony. It is not ambiguous. It does not require interpretation. It is a person publicly describing the emotional experience of killing someone and expressing satisfaction with that experience on a publicly accessible platform. His 22 Shots Twitter handle was understood by the community as a direct reference to what had happened to Tutu, a permanent, searchable label that connected his public identity to a specific act. The Man Down music video and its use of Tutu's own social media content as lyrical material added a documentary layer. CDAI was not simply celebrating an anonymous opponent's death. He was specifically documenting his connection to Tutu's death through multiple public channels. From a legal standpoint, what CDAI produced in the weeks following November 10, 2011 is more comprehensive self-documentation than law enforcement typically encounters. He did the documentation himself. He placed it in public. He created a searchable, permanent record that connected his persona, his handle, his music, his explicit public statements, to the specific death that investigators were building a case around. CDAI was convicted of a murder in 2017, a separate case from the 22 allegations. That conviction represents the legal system's eventual accounting of one specific act within a pattern of behavior his public record had been documenting continuously for years. The irony that layers through his story is one of the conflict's most structurally revealing features. CDAI's most public and most explicit commentary operated as a form of self-testimony. He was not telling on anyone else. He was documenting himself. And the documentation he created was at least as legally useful to investigators as any witness statement could have been. That FBG Buddha provided about Tutu's funeral is one of the most documented examples in this conflict's history. A pastor confirmed it. FBG Buddha, from the Jaro City orbit, confirmed it from the receiving end. The shooting at or near Tutu's funeral service, during which police reportedly barricaded the church and arrested multiple mourners carrying weapons, is not community speculation. It is documented through multiple independent accounts, including the account of the religious figure conducting the funeral service. The decision to bring violence into a funeral setting represented the specific operational conclusion reached by November 2011. There were no protected spaces, no pauses, no exceptions. If the opposing crew gathered in a single location, that location was a tactical opportunity regardless of purpose. Strategically, the decision made sense within the cold logic of the conflict. Humanly, it marked the full dissolution of whatever limits had previously bounded the methods. A funeral is the space cultures designate as inviolable. When that space is invaded, acceptable and unacceptable collapse into a single measure, effective or ineffective. Both sides reach that temperature. The Tutu funeral incident documents what it looked like on the 600 side's application of it. The CDAI music playing near that same gathering documents the Jaro side's simultaneous application. FBG Buddha and the Duck murder trial. The snitching dimension did not end with the earlier incidents. It extended into the proceedings surrounding FBG Duck's August 4, 2020 murder on the Magnificent Mile. The public commercial geography produced a witness pool fundamentally different from typical South Side incidents. The subsequent federal prosecution generated its own witness cooperation dynamic on the Jaro Jiao FBG side. FBG Buddha, from the Jaro Jiao FBG orbit, was compelled to be a witness in the federal proceedings. Compelled, not voluntary. The distinction matters in the street code's evaluation. Compelled testimony, under subpoena with contempt risk, places a person differently than voluntary cooperation. Whether the code recognizes that distinction varies. Some frameworks distinguish, others do not, because information still reaches the case file. That Buddha was placed in that position, that his own side's loss generated the compulsory process, illustrates how sustained conflict destroys the social protection that the no cooperation code intends to provide.